Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah.
Welcome back to that Effin' Sports Show. We are going through every team in every division on the way to opening day. We're breaking down records. We're going to let you know who's going to be there. And to make sure we get it right, we have the Adam Hulse, NFL writer for Sportskeeda at Adam Hulse Sports on Twitter. You can find all his stuff from there. Welcome to that Effin' Sports Show. We're on Arizona today, Adam. This might be a little quicker than many of the other episodes. I don't see a lot of wins. It's kind of a mess in Arizona right now.
Ton of messes going on in Arizona, ton of changes. Hopkins out, Watt out. Kyler Murray, who knows if he's playing, when he's playing. They changed their coaching staff. A lot of big issues right now going on in Arizona, and I agree. It might be hard to give them too many wins on this schedule.
First-year head coach, right? Coming out of Philly, Gannon.
That's right, and they're going from an offensive-minded head coach to a defensive-minded head coach who basically changed out almost all of the assistants as well. So lots and lots of changes with the Cardinals.
Yeah, they blew up the defensive line. You mentioned Murray. Who knows when he'll come back off that ACL. Colt McCoy is the next man up. Okay, I'm not even going to hate too much on that. There's really, the guy gets enough on his own. I don't need to add to it. The offensive line, like you said, new coaches coming in there. The running back, they pretty much have Connor. They've got Connor and a bunch of other guys sitting at running back. So if Connor goes down, they're kind of screwed, and they don't really have a strong receiving core to back it up. They got Hollywood, they got Moore, they got Dortch. It's just not a lot of power here. And unfortunately, they've got a schedule against some pretty powerful teams. Luckily, they open just about as far as they ever would to Washington. The first game is against the Commanders. I talked about it in the last episode with the Rams. I'm not giving the Commanders a lot of wins. And even with Colt McCoy, even with all the problems, I don't know. Both these teams are just so horrible. It's hard to pick one. I got to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, this is an ugly game, right? I think we both kind of agree that these are two of the worst teams in the NFL this year. A lot of messes for both teams. A lot of questions, with the quarterbacks, of course. You said Colt McCoy. It's probably going to be Colt McCoy unless they decide to give Clayton Tune a chance, the guy that they just drafted. That's a possibility. Colt McCoy is what he is. He's a solid backup to have, but you really don't want him starting a whole bunch of games. He's a great fill-in type of quarterback, solid backup, but he's surely not a starter. Good chance he will be the starter for a while. Who knows how long. Ugly quarterback stuff in Arizona. Maybe even uglier quarterback stuff in Washington, because I don't see Sam Howell as a legitimate option to be a starting quarterback. I don't care what they're trying to sell us out of Washington. I'm not buying it at all. With both of these two big messes, at least in Washington, the one thing they kind of have going for them is the continuity in the coaching staff and the defense. There's some relative continuity there as well. I think their defense is definitely better than Arizona's defense. They are playing the game at home, so though I'm not giving Washington many wins this year, I think they're going to win this one.
Look, we do this live if you didn't know. This is on the fly. This is not prepared. We don't have all the wins and losses laid out in front of us. Get the team, we look at it, we give you the win-loss. So with this at Washington, I'm going to agree with you. I think Washington wins. They don't have a quarterback. They've got McLaren. The defense should be a lot stronger. Young coming back. If Washington has a strength and they don't, but if you got to give them something, I guess the defense is where you can maybe give them a little something. You talk about continuity, and that's good as well. Just a dumpster fire in both teams, but because it's in Washington, I will also give Washington the win. I can't wait to look and see who has a worse record at the end of the year, Washington or Arizona. Game 2, the Giants come in, and we brought it up in the last episode. Lots of problems, lots of holdouts to include Saquon Barkley. So in week 2, we don't even know if this stuff's going to be resolved yet. The Giants come to Arizona. It is kind of a situation where this one could maybe go either way, as the Giants are trying to figure out what the heck they're going to have to play with.
Is Saquon playing? We don't know. We don't know what's going to go on with Saquon right now. Without Saquon, I mean, that offense has serious issues. They really did not address their biggest problem this year, which was wide receivers, right? They need wide receivers. They really didn't add any. Sure, they got Darren Waller, and he's like tight end, wide receiver, hybrid type of player, but I don't think that really solves their issues. Their defense last year had a lot of issues as well. They won a lot of weird games, ugly games that could have gone either way. They were very fortunate to win. It felt like all of those games that were coin flips. I don't think they're going to be as fortunate this year. And while I think that the Giants are a better team than the Cardinals, in Arizona, week 2, I'm not going to have the Cardinals going 0-17. They're going to win a game somewhere. And I think this could be that game.
For me, this isn't it. I do love the Giants coach. I think he finds a way. Even without Saquon, I do love when Jones pulls that ball down and runs with it. I do like to watch that kid run. You're right. A lot of questions all around the board. Saquon could be back. And so I think if you throw Saquon in the equation, maybe we get a different answer. I am going to give Arizona the loss. I'm going to give the Giants the win. The NFC West teams kind of fighting uphill. They got to play everybody in the AFC North. They got to play everybody in the NFC East. And then they all got to play each other. These schedules are already not good. Arizona opening with 3 games against the NFC East right off the bat. So Washington Giants, and then Dallas comes into Arizona. I already know you're going to give Dallas the win. I am as well. Just a better team. It's not even a favoritism thing. Arizona already not great and not having a great open, and it just gets worse after this, as we're going to hear. But Dallas comes to Arizona. I'm sure you're giving Dallas the win here.
I'm definitely giving Dallas the win here. I just think that they're better at basically every single position grouping. They're a better team top to bottom. It is very strange for the Cardinals, right? Opening the year 3 in a row against the NFC East. It kind of feels like a throwback, right? Back to the 90s when the Cardinals were in the NFC East. You see Washington, New York, and Dallas as their first 3 game on the schedule. It feels like they're right back in this division like they used to be.
Yeah, a little bit to those of us who remember. Game 4, they got to go to San Francisco. The only thing that Arizona and San Francisco have in common, in my opinion, is the fact that we don't know who the heck's going to be playing quarterback. Other than that, San Francisco clearly a better team, even with having questions about if the defense can remain as good at San Francisco. It's got to be a win for San Francisco here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters which one of the quarterbacks is playing for San Francisco in this one. No matter which one it is, I think that they're the better team everywhere else, and they're going to win this game. And any of the 3 quarterbacks they have are still better than any of the quarterbacks that are going to be playing for the Cardinals at this point, because Kyler's not going to be back yet.
Yes, agreed. Week 5, they play Cincinnati. We've already given Cincinnati the wins for obvious reasons. I don't like to just kind of glaze over the ones that we did, but I don't think there's really a lot to say when you talk about Cincinnati coming to Arizona either.
Look, I mean, real simple. Cincinnati's one of the best teams in the league. Arizona's one of the worst teams in the league. The Bengals will win as long as they don't look past it.
Bing, bada, boom. At LA, in the last episode, we talked about the Rams being able to pull this one together. Stafford, Kupp, McVay, at least being good enough to beat Arizona in LA. And then in week 7, Arizona has to go to Seattle. You've said that, and we'll get more into this in the Seattle episode, but you've said people might be overhyping Seattle a little bit. Clearly, I don't think they're overhyping them in Seattle against Arizona. So I think Arizona still takes this loss, but without getting too much into it, it's kind of saving some of it for the Seattle episode. You also can see some regression possibilities for Seattle. Not enough to lose to Arizona, though.
Well, my take on Seattle has been that I think Seattle's team from top to bottom, that their roster is actually better than most people are giving them credit for. Where I see the regression is in Geno Smith. I see a lot of people out there very high on Geno this year. And I mean, look, he had a phenomenal year last year, a career year last year. But when you look at every other season of his career, last year to me was the outlier. I think he played out of his mind. I don't think he's going to fully regress back to New York Jets Geno Smith. But I don't think he's going to be as good this year as he was last year. I think he's going to take a step back. But I think that Seattle, the rest of their team is built so nicely, in my opinion. I love the weapons on offense. I think their defense is sneaky good. And I think that even with the Geno regression, that the Seahawks are going to be a good team this year, and they'll win this game.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Baltimore comes to Arizona. We've already gone over the AFC North. We've already given Baltimore the win. I don't think it's really needs a lot of explanation why Baltimore gets the win. In week 9, they go to Cleveland and we give Cleveland the win. You kind of feel like maybe Cleveland is a game that Arizona could win. We just didn't give it to them.
I think I'm a little bit higher on Cleveland this year than most people are. I know I'm a little higher on them than you are.
I'd say that's 100%.
I think Deshaun Watson.
I'd say that's 100%.
Yes. Yes, because it's directly related to, I still believe Deshaun Watson is young enough and good enough to kind of regain some of his old form. You're not so favorable on Deshaun Watson as I may be. Yeah. I believe in his bounce back. If I'm right that he's going to be a lot better this year than he was last year, then I don't really give the Cardinals much of a chance in this one.
I'll keep saying it because it's important that we are doing this live. We are doing this on the fly. None of this is prepared. We hit the team. We give you the prediction. And so if we've already gone over it, we can't just go back and change it. Atlanta comes to Arizona in week 10. We both gave Arizona the loss. Again, this is one of those games where Arizona might be able to win against a team that's figuring themselves in Atlanta. We've given Atlanta the win, but this could be one where Arizona might steal it.
Definitely agree. This is one of the few games on the Cardinals schedule that I do think that they can win because, the Falcons aren't a great team. The Cardinals get the game at home. There's reasons to think that this could be one of those few wins as long as you don't have them going 0-17, which I don't think they will go. I agree. We both gave the Falcons the win because the Falcons are looking at this game the same way, right? We get the Cardinals this week. This is one of the games that we should win, and I think that they will.
At Houston for week 11, we've given Houston the win, given Houston some credit. One of those games I think Arizona could win. We just didn't give it to them because we do this live, and we did this a few weeks ago. We give Arizona the loss already, and so we can't take it back.
Right, yeah, I agree. Another one that they could win because Houston's going to be one of the worst teams in the league, too. I have Houston going 3-14. If you go back and listen to that Texans episode, this is one of those 3 games that I did give the Texans the win for.
We already talked about in the last episode the sweep for LA, which is kind of surprising. We could have given a split here. We've given a split to a lot of teams. We're just that down on Arizona, and maybe unfairly. I'm sure Arizona is going to win something this year. These 3 right here, Atlanta, Houston, LA, are maybe 3 where they could steal 1 or 2, or maybe even all 3. We've given them the losses already, so we won't change that. Like I said before, this is the middle of the season. These are teams that are beatable for Arizona. Just not sure if they'll pull it off.
Yeah, when Arizona's looking at their schedule as a whole, you're right. This little 3-game stretch here is one that if you're a Cardinals fan, that you can kind of be like, okay, there's a favorable stretch in our opinion. We both have them losing all 3 of those games. And if we're right that we lose all 3 of those games, this really is going to be a very ugly season for the Cardinals.
Because the next one, we give them a loss in week 13 at Pittsburgh. I don't think we have to expound too much on that one. Bye week in week 14. And then San Francisco comes to Arizona. We're going to know what kind of San Francisco we got, but I think even a bad San Francisco gets the sweep against Arizona.
Yeah, I think that San Francisco is going to sweep them as well. The one other thing we haven't mentioned in a few weeks here is by this point in the season, it is entirely possible that Kyler Murray's back too.
Yes, absolutely.
He could recover from that injury. That's really the big question mark with Arizona because there's all kinds of differing reports out there. Some guys are saying he's going to miss the whole season. Some are saying he's going to be back by midseason. So it's hard to know what's happening with Kyler. Their record may have something to do with whether or not he comes back as well. If they're completely out of the playoff race, they might just sit him for the whole year and, reassess the situation in the offseason. So that is something to keep an eye on as well.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you have them at 1 win. I have them at none going into week 16 at Chicago. Is cold. Chicago's a nice running team. Arizona, they've lost so many games at this point. Are they even really trying? I think the cold is really one of the big differences here. Arizona could steal a game against Chicago. I'm just not going to put it down. I'm not going to be the guy that says they do it.
Yeah, this is one of those games, you're right, they could win. If the game was in Arizona at this point in the season, late in the year, I'd probably give the Cardinals the win. Up in Chicago, in the cold, in the nastiness, you referred to the running game of Chicago. I think that this is going to be the kind of game that because of those type of conditions and with where the Cardinals record sits, this is going to be one of those games that the Cardinals players just don't even want to be there. They're just like, let's just get this over with. It's cold. This sucks. We suck. We lose.
And it doesn't get any better the next week. They go to Philly. It ain't going to be any warmer up there. And Philly's going to be hyped at this point of the season. They're going to be playing for something. I give Arizona no chance in Philly on week 17.
In Philly, Philly, no shot. Going with the Eagles.
Seattle comes. It's the end of the season. Again, I think Seattle's probably got something to play for. I think Arizona's just completely defeated. Maybe they try to steal this win. I just don't think that they get it done week 18.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an important game for the Seahawks, possibly for the division picture, possibly for the wild card picture. I think they're going to need to win, and they're going to get.
You said you didn't want them going 0-17. You got them going 1-16. I actually have them going 0-17. I think both of us can acknowledge that Arizona will probably steal a win or two. It's been a long time since anybody went 0-17, 1-16, especially the way this league is right now. It is a new coach. It is a question at quarterback. This record, 0-17, 1-16, probably a bit low even for Arizona. At the same time, it's not going to get much better than maybe a couple more wins.
Right, yeah. I mean, I can't see them winning more than 3. I'm okay with having them at 1. Chicago, Houston, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Those 3 games that we each gave them losses in, they're probably going to win at least one of those games. That being said, I have them at 1 win, with their lone win being against the Giants in week 2.
We talked about the schedule: Washington, New York, Dallas, San Francisco, Cincinnati, then LA, then Seattle. The first 7 only, just brutal. The last game, San Francisco, Chicago, Philly, Seattle. So you got San Francisco, Philly, Seattle, 3 of the last 4. It's been the running thing throughout this entire series as we go team by team, heading up into day 1. It's the schedule laid out before you. We felt it kind of helped Pittsburgh a little bit, other teams as well. It definitely hurts Arizona being in the situation that they're in and the teams that they have to play. Anything left on Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, all these NFC West teams have a rough road ahead of them. Brutal schedule for the NFC West this year.
Brutal. But we're not done. We've got San Francisco. We've still got Seattle coming up. It's looking up. We're about to hit the powerhouses of the division. We'll see how powerful. Arizona, 0-17 for me, 1-16, with the exception of a plus minus there. We'll give them a little plus possibility. How's the rest of the division going to play out? You're going to have to come back to find out. Go check out the other shows at That Effin' Sports Show, wherever you catch podcasts, keyword EFIN. We'll find most everything. We're on YouTube at That Effin' Sports Show. Go check out Adam Hulse at Adam Hulse Sports on Twitter. That'll get you to all his stuff. NFL writer for Sports Kita. Everybody take care. Catch the next one. We'll see you soon.
You don't wanna fuck with me. A slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe.